Stop trying to save your relationship. Start asking what it's trying to become. Because the love that you're grieving isn't lost, my friend. It is evolving. And evolution always starts with an ending. I know that that may be a little difficult to hear if you're in a painful place, right? It might feel like a gut punch, or maybe it feels like a relief to think about an ending being necessary for the next evolution of your relationship. And the truth is, when we are looking at love's next phase, what most people don't realize, and certainly most people aren't talking about, is that you have to let something die in order to get there. See, most people have been taught that a good relationship is one that basically stays the same, that love means consistency, that consistency means nothing has to end. But that idea, right? This idea that preservation is the goal, I actually think it may be the very thing that could be killing your love, your relationship. If the relationship that you are trying to save doesn't need to be saving, if the relationship that you are trying to keep, to bring to its next level, needs not a resuscitation but a funeral, then our approach to how we move to love's next phase is very different. And that's what I want to talk about today. Today, I want to disrupt something very foundational, something that will, I believe, change not just how you see your relationship, but how you experience every ending you've ever experienced in love now and the ones that come in the future. Here's what no one tells you about love's next phase. It doesn't ever begin with this lovely new chapter. It always begins with a death. And if you're willing to walk through that grief and uncertainty, if you're willing to ask, what is this relationship trying to become instead of how do I save it? Then you might just discover that the love waiting on the other side is deeper, freer, and more alive than you have ever imagined. Let me turn on D&D because I just noticed it wasn't on. Welcome, my friend, to another Catalyst conversation in a relationship revolution. Here, we challenge the unquestioned assumptions about love, life, and leadership, disrupting the patterns that keep you stuck and revealing the truths that no one's taught you. Here, we activate new ways of leading relationships consciously, courageously, differently, and dare I say, better. And we do this so that you can have the relationships and the life that most people only dream of. This month, I'm diving into a series that I'm calling The Living Relationship: How Love Dies, Evolves, and is Reborn. This is our March series here on Catalyst Conversations. And March is a sacred month for me personally. Cal and I chose the first day of spring as our anniversary because our love story has so many beginnings and endings that genuinely we did not know when our anniversary date was, right? We've been through many deaths and rebirths that like there was not a single date that we could identify that was like the actual beginning of the chapter when it actually started working. So spring felt right, you know? This celebration of the a turning point in our Earth's cycle, this turning point in a life cycle from the death of winter to the new life, the new beginnings of spring. And so this month in Catalyst Conversations, we're exploring what that means for all of us, what it really means for our relationship to be alive, and what it takes to let love die, evolve, and be reborn into something deeper than you've ever known before. So whether you're in a relationship right now or you're reimagining what your love looks like in this, in the future, this series is for you, my friend. Here's why this conversation matters. The story that most of our living goes something like this. We find love, we build something, and then somewhere along the way, it starts to feel different, right? Harder or heavier or less alive, less magical, less passionate. And then we panic because we don't know what that means. And because we've been taught that our love changing, becoming harder or less vibrant, um, that it means that something is wrong, right? That if it changes, the relationship must be failing, or we're failing, or there's something that needs to be fixed. And so we grip tighter, right? We fix harder, we push further to try to get our relationship back to what it was. Or we start to wonder, is this the end? But that question is not the right question to be asking. The question we need to be asking isn't, is my relationship ending or dying? It's, what is trying to be born here? What is trying to come alive through this change? And that reframe from ending to becoming is what I want to get into today, because it completely transforms how you navigate whatever struggles, challenges, or even heartbreak you're experiencing right now or could experience in the future. Before I get into all of that, though, let me take a moment to introduce myself to those of you who are new to me or this work. My name is Dr. Jenny Wallig. I'm an award-winning relationship mentor, speaker, author, intuitive guide, and I am a relationship revolutionary. My mission: to revolutionize how we think about and go about relationships and to redefine what it means to love so that we may all experience the true power and possibilities that our relationships have to offer. What I have found is that nothing, truly nothing, my friends, impacts the quality of our lives more than the quality of our relationships. And we are in relationships all the time in every aspect of our life. Right? Relationships are the infrastructure to everything we are trying to build. Think about that for a second. Everything we're trying to build, relationships are a piece of that. But most of us have never learned how to do relationships well, let alone how to lead them consciously and relationally. And much of what we have learned, right? Here's the rub. Most of what we have learned not only doesn't work, it also keeps us stuck and unhappy. So this revolution that I'm talking about, this revolution that is my mission, is a great global healing through love, through what it really means to love. And if you don't know what I mean by that, check out one of my previous episodes. I talked about that at length. So this healing is a return from separation into wholeness. Okay, it's a paradigm shift in the way that humanity relates and loves and leads, starting at the most intimate level. This is what I am here to change. These catalyst conversations and everything that I do really at Powerful Love, my goal isn't just to give you insight. It is to wake something up within you so that you too can be part of this revolution and experience the magic that your relationships hold. If you want to help us activate and even accelerate this global movement through love, make sure that you just like my content or Powerful Love's content. Subscribe to us on YouTube, share about our work, and of course, do your part to continue leading with love, because it takes all of us. If you're looking for a deeper level support, please reach out. There are numerous ways that we can support you. I'm going to talk about two of them at the end of this episode: the Relationship Revolution community and my new VIP Catalyst Day, which is only available through the month of March 2026. Either way, I'm glad you're here. Welcome to the Relationship Revolution, my friend. You ready for today's conversation? Good. Let's get into it. So here's the shift that I want to disrupt, the belief, the paradigm that we hold. It's this: that a good relationship is one that lasts. Yeah, I want to disrupt that. This idea that a good relationship is a relationship that lasts. Specifically, one that stays recognizable, one that looks the same this year as it did 5 years ago, where both people remain essentially who they've always been, love each other in essentially the same way with essentially the same dynamics, and passion and fire and commitment, that right, that there's this sameness across time. And that sounds like stability, doesn't it? It sounds like what love is supposed to be. But I I know that that belief actually causes a lot of problems, because here's what's really true about relationships. Relationships don't survive because they stay the same. They survive because they keep becoming, because they adapt. Okay? Let me say that again, because this is really important. I want you to get this. Relationships don't survive because they stay the same. They survive because they keep becoming. They keep adapting, adjusting as changes through death and rebirth. This means that at some point, something in the relationship, the way that it has been, has to come to an end. And I want to share a few points with you that I think will help deepen this idea. Okay? Here's my first point. First, you don't fall out of love. You outgrow the version of love that you had been in. Did you get that one? You don't fall out of love. You outgrow the version of love that you had been in, right? That you were in. So, quick story. Sandra Yancey, who is the founder and CEO of eWomen Network, she once shared something that has never left me, okay? She said that her husband of over 30 years has been married at least 7, how many fingers is that? 7 times, okay? To 7 different versions of her. And I love that so much because it names something that most couples experience but never frame this way, right? That the woman that he married in her 20s is not the same woman she is today. The woman building her empire, navigating her health, stepping into her fullest power, she is someone new. And rather than that being a threat to the marriage, it's been the life of it. Think about who you were when you first fell in love with your partner, the things that you needed, the fears that you carried, the version of yourself that you were living from. Okay. Now, think about who you are today. You've changed, grown, shifted, and that's not a problem. That is a life being lived. But here's what happens in most relationships: one or both people grow, and nobody names it. Nobody grieves the old version of themselves or the old version of the relationship. They just end up feeling the distance and call it falling out of love. I see this a lot with entrepreneurial women who are doing a lot of growth and evolution and changing as they move forward in their entrepreneurial journey. And if you're an entrepreneur, you get what I'm talking about, right? Like, entrepreneurship is a growth catalyst, and we need to grow and become different versions of ourselves to as our business evolves. And in that process, a lot of the time, women's spouses are not growing with them, don't get it, don't understand this new version that she is becoming. And it can feel like we're growing apart. It can feel like, um, often for women, that they're falling out of love with their spouses. Sometimes for their spouses, it can feel like they're falling out of love with their wives because they don't know who she is anymore. But again, I'm telling you, you have not fallen out of love in these situations. You've you've only outgrown the container of love that you originally built. So the question isn't, do I still love this person? The question is, are we willing to build a new container together? So I once worked with this couple, in which one partner struggled with commitment. And and so his partner, they've been together for, I don't know, like 7, 8 years, and his partner really wanted to get married, but he just couldn't go there, right? Forever to him felt like a really long time. And for him, commitment, like this idea of commitment, meant that you decide to be in this relationship for forever, no matter what. And he was aware that life changed and people changed. So the idea that he could decide now that he would want to be in this relationship with her 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the road, like, how could he know? He might change, she might change, life might change. How would he know? How could he decide now who he's going to be or what he's going to want then? And so, and this was like the client I worked with, during which I came to realize for myself that the dominant idea, the dominant narrative about what forever was, what commitment was, what relationships were supposed to be is fucking broken. It doesn't work. Okay? The commitment can't be about forever because he was absolutely right. He couldn't know now how he would feel later given all of the changes. And it felt like a disservice, and it is a disservice to our future quality of life to say, well, I'm going to decide now what my future self is going to need and want. And so even if my future self is miserable, I'm still going to stay in this relationship. No, that doesn't work. So then what could he commit to? And this is where like the aha came in for me, okay? That commitment isn't about like staying together no matter what. Commitment is about committing to the journey, committing to keep to a continuous growth process, to keep adapting together, to keep building, renovating, deconstructing and reconstructing and rebuilding throughout life together. That's a whole nother ball game. You can commit to like, I will keep working on this with you because then if at any point you work on it, you work on it, you work on it, you try to rebuild and it's still not working, that's new information. You kept your commitment. Now, anytime I get the question of like, how do I know? How do I know that the person I'm with is the right person? Or how do I know when it's time to end this relationship? The answer connects with this like um this awareness of what we're actually committing to, this awareness that throughout a living relationship, there will be deaths and rebirths. And the question is not whether both of you are going, like supposed to try to maintain something that is dead. The question is whether you and your partner are willing to continue to grow and evolve together. Even when it's hard, even when it's scary, even when it's uncertain, are you willing to keep rebuilding? That is a whole different ballgame, right? That is a whole different way of being in relationship with one another and a whole different way of moving through this experience of I feel like we're falling out of love or I feel like I've fallen out of love with you. Again, you're bringing the question back to what needs to be reborn if we've outgrown this container? What are we becoming? What is love asking us to become? Okay? So, let me move on to another idea, which is a huge piece for a lot of couples, and really big, I think, in our dominant discourse. Although we can hold this nuance. It's a conversation about the honeymoon phase, right? Like we all know that the honeymoon phase is a phase. It's not supposed to last. I think the dominant idea understands that, but what where we get stuck is that we see the honeymoon phase as the peak of love, right? That the ultimate experience, the best it's ever going to be. And then anything after that is like womp womp. I wish it were like that again. I mean, yeah, it's a really, really special phase of love, but it is not the peak of what is possible, my friends. It's like saying that um, that the baby stage of having a kid, if you're a parent, the baby stage is the best stage of being a parent. And it's like, yeah, it's a really fun and exciting stage, or like that. Or maybe not even the baby stage. Maybe it's pregnancy, right? Because we think about the honeymoon phase as like this embryonic phase where you are growing your love, and there's lots of energy and lots of of things being co-created and lots of possibility, endless possibility, and you don't know how it could be, but you have all of these dreams, and it's so exciting, but also terrifying. So yeah, maybe pregnancy is a better, metaphor for this. Um, and it's full of unknowns, and some of it's hard, but some of it is also really exciting and joyful. But is pregnancy the best stage of being a parent? No, neither is infancy. I'm in stages. My kids are 11, 9, 9, and 8, and I think that right now so far has is the best stage. And we're, almost 10 plus years for all 4 of the kids into our relationship with them. Every stage was beautiful, but like in our marriages as parents, those relationships have endings. There's a birth and there's an ending. There's an ending to the baby phase. There's an ending to the toddler phase. There's an ending to the teenage years. There's an ending to elementary school. We know this in a way as parents, but we don't think about it like this as partners. Yet, as partners, we go through similar births and deaths, similar evolutions, right? If you stay if you stay attached to the idea that the best stage of love is your honeymoon phase, and that everything else after that is just like maintenance and compromise and slow settling, never going to be as good enough. My friend, I got to tell you, that is not your love evolving. That is your love being abandoned because it is not getting the chance to be nourished and grown past that embryonic stage. Okay. It is the honeymoon phase is a seed. Okay. Real love, the kind that has roots, the kind that can hold weight, that can weather loss and rupture and transformation, the kind that bears the sweetest, juiciest, most delicious fruit of our lives. That kind of love takes years to grow. And the couples who understand this don't try to get back to the beginning. They know that the beginning was just the invitation. What they do is build something that the beginning couldn't have dreamed of. That is what I am inviting you to consider. That is the path I am inviting you to walk in your relationship. Okay. I have two more things that I want to say about this idea. Okay. The first is this. Most couples stay together by making it work, okay? By compromising, by shrinking parts of themselves, until they can't anymore, until they're not happy anymore, until like they just can't keep going. They hit a wall. And the option at that point, at that death, isn't separation, right? The real choice in front of you, which is really like the whole theme of what I'm talking about today, is co-evolution. So I want to talk about this because I think this is a really helpful concept to have in your mind, this idea of co-evolution, evolving together. So I want to take a moment and get personal here and share a very real and very recent story with you that connects to this idea of co-evolution. Um, because like everything, I don't just teach these ideas. I don't just speak to them. I live them, my friends. And the most recent chapter of my own story is one that I haven't talked much about publicly, but I think it's really relevant in today's conversation. And so I want to share it with you. Calvin and I have done a tremendous amount of work on our relationship. Okay. Years of it, real, deep, transformational work. And by every measure, we had arrived somewhere beautiful. We felt good, connected, balanced. Our relationship was better than anything either of us could ever imagine. And I was deeply satisfied. It's the reason we built powerful love relationships. It's the motivation, like this transformation we went through from unbearable to unbelievable is the reason that we created the powerful love method and the ways of working and supporting couples and individuals in their relationships that we did. But then as recently as just last fall, at the time of this recording, perimenopause hit me. And it showed up at the same time that I happened to be navigating um, uh, some deep learning about patriarchy and patriarchal dynamics in relationships. And this intersection between like learning about patriarchy and navigating like hormone changes and the emotional upheaval and this like new um, awakening that was happening for me as a woman, like something cracked open in me, y'all. And I started seeing things in my relationship that I had never seen before. I wasn't able to see, right? Ways that I was carrying more of the load, doing more, absorbing more, ways that the division of our labor, both emotional and childcare and household, like was not equitable. And and I had previously accepted it as like normal, as fine. And all of a sudden, it really felt unbearable for me. It's like estrogen was no longer um, motivating me to prioritize harmony in my system over my own personal like needs and well-being. And it was like I hit this place where it felt very sudden all of a sudden, right? Like that, like this shift. I was done. I couldn't anymore. I couldn't. I went from like deeply satisfied to nearly ready to blow up our entire life. Not even kidding. I'm talking about seriously considering moving out. That level of rupture, that level of dissatisfaction and doneness, that level of death. There was a lot of conflict, a lot of anger, tears, fear, conversations that went late into the night, days where I slept in a different room. Um, we went to Mexico for a couple's vacation at the end of the year. First couple's vacation we got in probably 8 years. Very needed. And I hardly took any pictures because we spent most of the time in conflict and disconnection, and I was unhappy, and I didn't wanna take pictures of us pretending to be happy, and I didn't wanna take selfies of myself when I was, like, in this primal state energy and unsure of who I was or whether my relationship or my business would make it because we just, like, kept repeating these patterns and, oh my guys, I get it. I get how crappy and exhausting and defeating and terrifying these deaths are. And there was real uncertainty for me about whether what we had built so strong and so beautifully could hold what I was now needing from it, what I was now asking from our relationship. But here's what I came to understand in the middle of all of this upheaval. First, the rupture that we were experiencing wasn't a sign that our relationship was failing. It was a sign that our relationship was evolving. Okay. That the relationship that we were living in before no longer fit the woman that I was becoming. And I needed Cal to adapt with me. I needed him to co-evolve with me. And like I said in the commitment conversation, right? How do I know when it's really the end? He was willing to co-evolve with me. That's the commitment. He's like, it wasn't easy. He didn't get it right all the time. I didn't do it well all the time in my asking. It was really messy and really hard, but we were both committed to that evolution together. Okay. So I recognized after one of our fights that that this experience was not evidence that I was somehow a fraud who didn't deserve to lead women in their own relational evolutions. I realized that this evidence was exactly why I am so qualified to lead women through their own relationship evolutions. Because this was not the first time Cal and I had a death and the need to co-evolve into our rebirth in our living relationship, right? This was not the first time. This was probably the fourth or fifth time. And because I had done it before, because I knew how I had done it before, I had a method, I had tools, I was able to use those to help us move through this. Again, still messy, still hard, and it was important for me to remember, like, how messy and hard and scary the journey is when you're in it. But it was also important for me to remember, I have done this before, I can do this again. And because I live it, I know how, I know that it works, and I know how to support women and their spouses in moving through it, right? So that awareness, it didn't make the journey easier, all that much, although it did alleviate a lot of the suffering in terms of, like, am I failing? What does this mean about me? Um, you know, I should be better than this, all of that nonsense. It's like, no, this is what's happening. And when we understand what's happening and how to get from where we are to where we want to go, there's a lot of relief, a lot of energy moves back into our bodies and into our life, that was being leaked, that was being drained by the fear and the, meaning that we were giving to what's going on. And so we're now very much on the other side of it. And I got to tell you, friends, like, our relationship, the way that it's changed and changed so quickly again, is so good. Like, things that I thought were impossible for Cal to be able to shift on, or for us to be able to rebalance in our family and our partnership, totally shifted, totally rebalanced. We are now more, like, more honest, more fulfilling, more connected. He's so much more responsive. It's really incredible. And yeah, I'm so grateful for actually having had that experience and being able to be on the other side of it so I could speak to what's possible. I I honestly could not have imagined this version of us existing prior to my perimenopause chapter, and certainly not during it. Not that perimenopause is over, but I think that, like, a lot of the shit that needed to shift has shifted now. Um, and we have, like, a new awareness of what this new dance between us needs to look like. That, my friends, is coevolution. Okay. So that's what it looks like when two people choose to grow toward each other rather than shrinking to fit what they've already built, or deciding to pull apart and leave because what they had previously built, even when it was great, no longer works. Okay. So here's really, what one of the things I want you to take away. One of the key things is this. Your your rupture, whatever rupture you might be feeling, whether it's perimenopause, or I'm talking big ones like affairs, betrayals, lies, major breakdowns, um, major life transitions. These are not, like, indicative of the death of your relationship. What they are is a demolition phase. Okay. This is where everything falls apart. And while it might be the ending for some people, and it might need to be, and that might be the best and most aligned path, the truth is, like, most of our kind of dominant narrative treats these big ruptures like endings, like it's supposed to be an ending. And often the couples who survive the rupture and come out the other side of it, they don't just, like, make it work. What they do is they build something entirely new out of the rubble that fell apart. And that new thing that they build, and that coevolution and that co-creation, that is better and stronger and more satisfying than anything that they had previously been living. Okay. These ruptures force us to ask questions that our comfort never asks us, like, who do we want to be? And what do we actually value? And what kind of love are we willing to build? Can it be what we have always dreamt it to be? And the answer is yes. So, yeah, this demolition phase is terrifying. It is also, if you're willing, the most powerful catalyst for a love that you could not have created any other way. So let's talk about what this shift, when you, like, this shift in belief, this shift in understanding, what this holds for you. When you start to integrate this understanding, you're going to stop panicking every time that love feels different, because you understand that different in your relationship means that you are still alive. There's a quote, I don't remember who said it. Maybe Bob Dylan. I could be totally wrong. But it goes something like, if you're not growing, you're dying. If you're not growing, you're dying. If your relationship isn't growing, it's dying. So let's keep growing it, right? Those differences, those challenges, those are gifts, resources, and opportunities. They're indications that you're still alive, and they're invitations to become, to unlock more through love. Getting this means that you don't have to waste your energy trying to get back to a relationship that no longer fits the people that you have both become. Okay. And you can start putting your energy toward this co-creation of something better, right? You stop seeing these ruptures, these challenges as evidence that something's broken, and you start understanding the invitation in front of you to build something better so that you can start building something better. And of course, you start asking the question that changes the whole game. Not how do we get back to where we were, but what are we willing to become? What are we called to become? Who do we want to become? That question, those questions held together by both of you, said out loud, said with courage. This is where the next great chapter of your love story truly begins. If this is speaking to you, if it's moving something within you, don't wait to do something about it. Take a next step, some step, any step toward that growth and coevolution. That kind of work is exactly the kind of work that we do inside of Powerful Love's programs. And I want to take a moment now to tell you about two of them. The first is our Relationship Revolution community. This is a wonderful opportunity to keep your relationships growth at the front of your awareness, to invest in your devotion to an ongoing growth, because this community is all about consistent steps toward the revolution, the evolution of your relationship, wherever you want it to go. So we have ongoing teaching, we have support, we have community of folks who are like you, done doing relationships the old way in ways that are not as fulfilling and rewarding as they could be, and desire something better for themselves and their partnerships. It is the place where you stay in the work and move deeper from learning about it to embodying and practicing it, and you don't have to do it alone. We have monthly calls, um, behind the scenes look at how Cal and I are applying this, uh, additional trainings and resources, ability to ask me questions and get support along the way, and of course, community and accountability. If you know that you want to go deeper and you're looking for a more profound and fast transformation in a big way, right? In moving through a death, you're not just continually glowing, like you need to move through a death and into a new rebirth. Then I want to invite you to reach out about my, I'm remembering the name, the Catalyst VIP Day. So this is, I've only got 3 spots open, and it's only available for the month of March. But this is a deep dive, full day VIP intensive with me, where we're going to identify exactly where you're stuck and exactly how to change it. And you're going to leave with not only that clarity, but also a strategic plan for how to create changes in your relationship immediately. And you'll get 30 days of ongoing support from me to implement that plan and make sure that you are experiencing the changes and the shifts that you want to. So if that's something that you're interested in, comment or DM or email me with the word catalyst, and I will get you some more information. The link, by the way, to the Relationship Revolution community membership is in the caption or the show notes of this episode. And if you want to talk through anything before you make a decision, feel free to message me directly at connect@drjennywallig.com. I'm here and happy to help. Okay. I think that wraps for today, my friends. Remember, you don't have to keep trying to save a version of your relationship that's already done its job. You just need to be willing to lead yourself and your love into what comes next. Before I wrap up, I have one more favor to ask you. If this opened up new possibilities for you, I would be honored if you left a review and shared this episode. It genuinely helps this work reach the women who need it the most. And if something really landed for you today, come find me on LinkedIn at Dr. Jenny Wallig. I would love to hear from you. I read and respond to every message. So I will see you next time for another Catalyst conversation. New episodes drop every Friday at 12:30 p.m. Pacific. We are going to continue the conversation about living relationships, how love is born, dies, and evolves, something like that. I don't remember the subtitle, but that's what we're going to do, and that's what we're going to talk about. Until then, my friend, keep leading with love.